Roll for Crit is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Come roll with us at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Welcome to a special episode of Roll for Crit. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And we are joined today by two guests from SideGame LLC, which now they have a YouTube channel. They also offer a really cool service where they will come over and help you learn how to play games and help you figure out what games you might want to play. We're talking to Mackenzie and Ariana. If you guys please introduce yourselves and tell us about all your shtick.
Yeah, I'm Mackenzie from SideGame in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
And I'm Ariana, Mackenzie's wife.
And we own SideGame LLC in Colorado Springs. We're personal game night hosts. And like Jonathan was saying, we come in, we kind of find a game that fits your group, or if you have suggestions, we prepare it and make sure that your night is as perfect as possible with smooth gameplay and just a lot of fun. So thank you so much for having us on, Jonathan and Will. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited for today's list.
Yeah, I know it's a cool service, and we know both of you are also big fans of Marvel Legendary, as are we. So that is what we are gathered here today to talk about. We each have a list of our top 5 favorite heroes from the game, playable heroes. That's why I'm wearing this hat, but now you've seen it, I'm going to take it off. Because I don't think I look that great in hats. It's just going to be distracting. But why don't we talk a little bit about top 5 favorite heroes. What are some of your criteria, or how did you narrow down this list? Because there's, I think, like 8,000 heroes in Legendary. There's a lot to choose from. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Well, for me, when I play Marvel Legendary, I play to beat the villain. So my top 5 are the top 5 that I think are the best heroes, excluding one group, which I'll talk about, but just because they're too good. It's just impossible not to win without them. So.
That's my entire list is that group.
Oh, no.
I don't even know what the group is. I'm sure they're on there.
So does that mean, Will, that you also went with powerful groups?
More or less. Most of the ones I picked were because it's like I like to, like when I just keep playing things in my hand, and I feel like when you get those strong turns.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they're probably also going to not be heroes that like you, whether it's other people are buying them or maybe luck of the draw, don't work out that well if you don't get a lot of their cards. There are examples, but I don't want to say any just in case they are on other people's lists. But I would say that would be the biggest thing I was thinking about. I'm also not going to be, though I do enjoy them, I haven't focused too hard on the ones that are really about the competitive part. I just think because they're not too often. I feel like most of them came from the villain set. I know there are a few here and there, but it really seems it's more of just playing better than actually like wounding everyone, for example.
Gotcha.
Right. Accelerating your own power than stopping other people. And Mackenzie, what about you?
So Ariana took this as huge, like, oh, I got to beat this guy. But when I play Marvel Legendary, I want to have a lot of fun. So my heroes are the ones that I think are just a blast to play. Things that I really enjoy that are also really solid on their own. So really interesting strategies and just really fun cards to play.
Yeah, I think I kind of took a little bit of everything. I think I picked ones that I thought were fairly effective, but also a lot of them will have something unique about them too, or they exemplify like a really unique aspect or mechanic of the game in a cool way. So that's kind of was my thinking through this. All right, so
similar wavelengths, Jonathan.
All right, good. That's good. I like to hear that. Let's start with you guys. Let's start now officially. Give us either both of you in either order your number 5 picks and your reasoning behind it.
All right. So my number 5 is from one of the newer expansions. This is from the Into the Cosmos expansion, and it is Nebula. So Nebula is a lot of fun. She reuses the shard mechanic that was introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy. And she is basically Gamora's effects, just amplified, more competitive, and more fun. So Gamora, she really focused on giving shards to villains, but like I said, Nebula amplifies it. So right off the bat, she has a card called Galactic Rogue. When you play it, you give a villain in the city a shard. Shards are kind of this resource that you can save. They give you strikes. And Nebula puts it on a villain, which means that villain's stronger, but if you kill it, hey, you're going to get that shard and you can use it later. So a lot of her effects have to do with whenever you get shards from either the villains you defeat or from other players. So Nebula is kind of a bully. She'll steal the shards from other people. She'll rescue bystanders from the other people playing. And he's just a lot of fun to play. She also has some cool effects where you can kind of filter your deck by KOing cards. But ultimately, she's got a lot of really cool interactions. And I love the bounty system where you're putting shards on other people. So a lot of fun. That's in Nebula, the ruthless cyborg.
Yeah, I think I haven't had as much chance to, because it's so new and because we haven't been able to get together as much to play. Have enjoyed that expansion, but I think that the interactive nature of her is something I haven't had the chance to really figure out yet.
Yeah, I just remembered there, like my entire list, I think goes, none of them will include, not because I don't like them, but before the one where they officially printed Howard the Duck, like not as a promo bonus. Like I played with him, but as from the packs.
Yeah,
like I haven't had the chance to play with these new expansions and a lot of these characters, which I think I would like a bunch of them. I just don't have the experience with.
I think Nebula's fun. She's not fun to play with if you're a person being stolen from, of course, but it's still fun to get a couple of her cards and then get that shard bonus. I like shards in general. I think those are pretty nice to just have that additional strike power, but overall,
I think there are also some cool strategic advantages with kidnapping bystanders from other players. Like maybe you have a really good bystander that you want to just keep cycling through, one of the special ones, and that could really accelerate or really help out with specific parts of the game. So I think it's kind of cool, an adaptive strategy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, adaptive is good, is key for a lot of these heroes, I think, depending on which scenario they're up against. All right, Ariana, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Scarlet Witch. So I love her ability to just copy the top card of the hero deck. I think that's just ridiculous. And it's not a high cost card. It's 4 costs and you can copy like 6 cost cards or whatever cost. And depending on the heroes you use with her, the combinations that you can make, because I kind of agree with Will here that you want to, I like playing Marvel Legendary where you can make those combos and you're just feeling so powerful and you're like, oh, and then I'll play this and this and this. So then when you're able to use Scarlet Witch and then copy that top card and it ends up being some ridiculous card, it's the best feeling.
Yes, those powerful combos that I have watched other players use.
No, you use them now.
Sometimes I do. All right, well, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is going to Agent Venom from the Secret Wars Volume 2. In general, I think the Spider-Man group are cool, but a lot of them play with that 2 cost thing, which, while it is really fun to just play 2, flip, play 2, 2, 2. Sometimes nothing come out, and I feel Agent Venom at least goes a little bit different. He still has wall crawl. He also is part of the group of people who have hybrid symbols. He has both a green and a instinct, I think it's called, the orange one. I always mix that one up. So it really helps you get those combos out for those cards and also be a bit more versatile if like you need to switch because you can't get enough Wolverine cards, for example, which I know use a lot of instinct. And of course, he's got the ability to go, a lot of his cards go either for the attack or the resource of buying more heroes. So it helps out regardless of what other heroes you're deciding to build around.
Yeah. Agent Venom's just a cool character. Did any of your choosing, at any point did your preference towards the characters themselves factor into it, of just what you like, their personalities, or
a little bit? Yes, I'll admit. I like the design of Agent Venom.
He's pretty awesome. For me, I don't really care about the hero, but if the hero's cool, then great. I'm more focused on the mechanisms myself.
Okay, but my number 5 then, we'll bring it to that, is in fact a hero that I really, really like. And this comes from one of the earlier expansions. It's Daredevil. Daredevil's whole thing, he was one of the ones, I think, probably part of the reason he's in this top 5, I think, since I first played with him. Since he came out so early, he was one of my early favorites, and so I've had a lot of experience with him. His whole thing is that he wants you to try to predict what costs are in your deck. So he'll have things like draw the top card of your deck and you say a number and it's like, I think it's going to be a 4. And if it's a 4 cost, you get to draw it and add it to your hand. And I just think it's such a very thematically fun idea. That's something I also appreciate about a legendary hero, is if they're able to work something in thematically to the character themselves. Because of course, Daredevil is blind. He uses his senses to sense things, so it's kind of a fun. It almost turns it into like a gambling game, and you're trying to figure out, how lucky do I think I am? And it actually kind of can shape how you build your entire deck from the rest of the HQ, because if you think you want to use him a lot, you want to buy cards of consistent costs, which also I think makes things interesting. And he has this backflip card, which means the next hero you recruit goes on top of your deck. So that's kind of was like wall crawl before they made the wall crawl keyword. So a lot of cool stuff going on there. He's also he's probably the simplest, maybe not the simplest, one of the simpler characters on my list. An example of an early hero that didn't get like super convoluted, but still had some fun stuff going on. We'll go now to our number 4s. Mackenzie, what's your number 4?
All right, so my number 4 is probably the most goofy hero on this list because of what she does. She's from Secret Wars Volume 1. This is Lady Thor. So if you're familiar with Thor or Lady Thor, their whole spiel is you're going to recruit heroes. All they have are basically stars on their cards, and they get bonuses the more stars you produce. It's a really goofy strategy to pursue, but if you're making like 12 or 15 stars, I mean, you're going to be buying good cards, right? So you're going to have a deck chock full of cards, which is kind of, not so good because you want to thin it out to get the good stuff, but you got all your friends in your deck and you're ready to go. And Lady Thor is just better in general than the regular Thor. She's got abilities where you can draw cards if you make a certain amount of stars, which is great. I mean, they just float. And you also have abilities to pump out these huge strikes. So a lot of her cards are a little expensive, but you're making like 12 stars a turn, so it's not a big deal. So I really like Lady Thor, and just that get everybody in this gigantic deck. We were playing this one time, and we had like a deck of 60 cards, just something ridiculous.
Wow, that sounds insane. That's a lot of cards. Soon, perhaps to be depicted by Natalie Portman. We'll see.
It's super cool.
Yeah. All right. So Lady Thor. All right. Number 4. Now so Thor was your 4. You had a Thor 4. Ariana, what's your number 4?
My number 4 was I've forgotten.
Pull it up.
Thank you. Ant-Man. That's who it is. Ant-Man is my number 4. I love the size changing ability and the draw card ability. That paired with his, I think it's his 6 cost card. Yes, where you can draw for however many cards you draw in that turn, you get that +1 strike. That's just brilliant because, again, it's just that powerful turn of I just drew like 5, 6 cards. So here's a 6 cost card that really isn't 6 cost because it has size changing. So it's really a 4 cost card that gets you a ridiculous amount of strikes. And I just I love it. Fantastic.
Kind of a similar thing to Lady Thor. Anything that just lets you get a lot more heroes easily and faster is a plus.
Yes.
And when I'm playing on these like really high competitive missions, she'll basically set herself up for like an impossible scenario. But size changing is really good for that because you can get the cards faster, and that means you're able to react to the board quickly.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's up?
Well, my number 4 is also Daredevil, but not the Daredevil you chose.
Oh,
mine is Daredevil from the Noir expansion. This expansion, I actually really loved it. I love the look of it. I thought the investigative keyword is fantastic. And it was really hard for me to choose one out of the group. I could definitely put out Iron Man. Iron Man's definitely my least favorite of the bunch. The rest I really like. Daredevil to me was the final choice because, like you said, Jonathan, he sort of adds a mini game into this about what's on top, how to deal with it. But the Noir one, because he can investigate, allows you to help change things up a bit. And in fact, you can destroy a lot of your 0 cost cards with his big card too, which means you can make sure you just get all those sweet cards you just bought and keep playing them over and over.
Yeah. All right. So we're not total. Usually we have like the same list whenever we do a top 10 video. So I'm glad we at least have a little bit of a difference there. But still, some more support for Daredevil. My number 4 pick now is where I start to immediately get into like just weird, you might say gimmicky heroes. My number 4 is Phoenix from the X-Men set. And she's just really interesting. her big thing is KOing cards and her own cards. So a lot of her cards, you'll play it and then you KO it. But then she has another card that allows you to take cards back that were KO'd during that turn. So you can set up these really fun combos of powerful cards that you're getting rid of but then grabbing back immediately, or maybe sometimes even grabbing back other people's cards depending on what other types of heroes you have in play or villain abilities and things like that. And then she has her final card, her big card, which allows her to get a ton of extra attack power. But if she gets too much, she's corrupted, and that if you have that card, you just win against all other players. you become the new big bad, which maybe isn't. I don't know. A lot of people, even myself, might not really like that all the time. It's a little bit of a different thing, but I do just think in general her cards are fun and powerful and allowing you to KO. I mean, that's one of like the biggest things ever in any deck building game. If there's a card that lets me KO things from my deck, I probably want that card early.
Yeah, I mean, most deck building games, we've had this talk like drawing and KOing. There's cards that do that. They usually need to have like a drawback or expensive because there's a deck that doesn't want those.
Yeah,
I love that whole giant Phoenix cost though. It reminds me of the Infinity Gauntlet scheme where another player they just win. I love that. It's so great. It's so kinetic. It's so fun. That's awesome.
It is great. And that would probably be in my top 5 schemes if we were making that list too. Although I think that would be even harder than.
Oh god, yeah, that would require a bit more work.
There's a lot more. Hey, we got a special guest.
This is corn.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, is boy or girl this dog?
This is Cornelia Goblin Princess Franklin. So she is our mascot, and she's part goblin. She's pretty great.
Are you announcing this is the next legendary hero?
That's it. She's pretty great. She's got a lot of card draw. She's got a pack. The top squad. She's ready to go.
If she has a top 5 list, she's welcome to share it. Otherwise, why don't you give us your number 3 next, Mackenzie?
All right. So my number 3 is actually a crossover. And this is with Ariana. This is going to be Scarlet Witch. She's probably the most powerful hero, or one of the most powerful heroes on this list in particular, because obviously Lady Thor, not the strongest, but Scarlet Witch's abilities are super good. So she's got the chaos magic, of course, where you're going to be randomly getting an ability, and that's just fun, right? I mean, who doesn't like that? Just seeing what you're going to get. But she also has some really good lower cost cards. She has one where it's very small, but you can look at the top card of anybody's deck and discard it. So it's really nice for cooperation. You could be like, oh, I know you're going to draw a wound next turn. Let me help you out. Or you can be like, oh, I just want to get through my deck faster. So it's a really cool way to cycle, and it's very cheap. And she also just has a lot of fun combo potentials. She's red and blue, so she's got a lot of working for her there. And I just think she's a lot of fun. She draws, she sifts through your deck, she's got some KO, and she's got that flavor of chaos magic. So really like Scarlet Witch. I think that was a great choice. So number 2.
It'll be interesting to see how many you guys share, since presumably you play a lot of the same heroes together.
Only one. So,
okay.
Ariana,
Jonathan, I think that might be the same for us. And I don't think we're like that. Besides Daredevil, I don't. At least I don't think. Actually, maybe my number 3 you might have. But I will say I haven't played Scarlet Witch, but it does remind me a bit of Rogue from the core set. And I love when you can copy or do chaos, because what happens is, especially when you do the final showdown, it's not I've got 5 troops, so I'm not winning this. You don't know if you're going to win or not. You'll flip the card and you get those moments. And I think that helps spice up the game a bit when anything goes and you don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely agree, Will.
Yeah. All right. Ariana, give us your number 3.
My number 3 is Luke Cage Noir. So
Another Noir. Okay.
That Noir set. It's pretty cool. And for us, I call it the 4G. And because oh my gosh, it's so good. But that ability to just draw whatever card costs 4 or more, and then his card that allows you to get plus not just 1 but 2 strikes for each 4 cost card that you've played is just incredible when you stack the deck to be 4 cost cards. So I think he pairs really nicely with other 4 cost cards. course. And then his abilities are just so good. And even his low cost, one of his 4-cost cards that just gives you 2 stars normally, paired with other 4-cost cards, could get you a ridiculous amount of stars where you're able to buy the high cost things and just make your deck even better.
He is a lot of fun, and I really love his block ability. I forget the name of it, but it's pretty much if anyone get a wound, you're like, nah, I'll draw the card, which in some cases they don't want you to do, but you're just like, no, I want the card.
I love the investigate mechanic as a whole. I think it's just really cool. Having a choice, but knowing that if you put it away, it's going to come back later to haunt you. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I think Luke Cage is not on my list, but definitely one I thought about. I think for similarly to even more so in a bigger way than what I was saying about Daredevil earlier. I think it's a really fun gimmick to like all the 4s. Just if it's 4, I want that 4. I think that's a really cool mechanic. Of course, he was your number 3. So, all right, Will, your number 3.
Well, my number 3 is an old one from the original Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's Star-Lord. Once again, this is another thing, the shards mechanic and artifact, both of these I love. Artifacts stay on the field. As a Magic player, I love permanence. I don't like instant sorcery, so keeping things out, great. What's great about Star-Lord is pretty much all his cards are artifacts. The one that isn't is copy someone's artifact, whether it's yours or someone else's. This means Star-Lord doesn't need to build up in any way. He can be split up equally among everyone, and no one has to feel like my engine's not working. You get the one that draws a card, that's great. You get the one that gives shard, that's good. You didn't get any of them, copy them. It allows for everyone to be versatile. Or if you get them all, you're just going to have a crazy, I draw twice, and then I get 5 shards, and then I'm copying it again, So I think it can be added to almost any mix-up of heroes that you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick. It was honestly a contender for this list, specifically for the copy and artifact card. I think that's so cool.
Right. And especially as soon as they add more cards that will have artifact, if and they do, that just makes it even more entertaining.
Yeah. Mixing that up can definitely make that stronger. So for my number 3, I'm going to stay in the realm of outer space and the cosmos. Another hero, the newest one on my list, also from Into the Cosmos. But Mackenzie, you went with Nebula. I am going with Adam Warlock,
Good choice.
Also, again, as we keep saying, shards are one of my favorite mechanics in all of Legendary, pretty much, and they let you get more attack power every turn when you build them up. But Adam Warlock, and some other heroes Into the Cosmos too, but I felt Adam Warlock did it in maybe a stronger way, at least, that I liked. Makes them more versatile, lets you burn those shards for other uses, such as making a hero have a lower cost, again, letting you get heroes more easily, or even just outright defeating a villain or defeating the mastermind if you get the right card for it, which can be really powerful. And I love he has a card that is, I think it's you play a card, then you discard a card, but then you get to draw 2 more cards for your next turn. It's something like that. You have to go through this complicated steps, but you get more cards in your hand for the following turn, which I think is really powerful. So I just like all his combinations. Get shards, spend them in various ways, giving them more things to do than just be for attack power. So that's Adam Warlock.
Yeah, I can't wait to actually try out those people when we can get together.
Yeah, I really like the Into the Cosmos set overall. I think there's a lot of good stuff in it.
I totally agree. Like you said, Jonathan, I like the way that it changes the way shards are used, and I think that's super awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So when you only have 5, it moves quick. We're already down into the big league stuff here.
Mm-hmm. This is my number 2, and I think this is the strongest hero on my list, but also I think super fun. This is from the Heroes of Asgard set. This is Beta Ray Bill. So Beta Ray Bill is a discard mechanic. So all of his cards are going to have you discarding things. They're going to have you redrawing, potentially. But the big payoff here is not even his ultimate. It's actually going to be a throne artifact, and this is Stormbreaker. So Beta Ray Bill has the axe, and it's super cool. You can only use it if you're worthy, which is a new mechanic, and that just means you have a 5-cost or higher card. But when you throw it, you get extra strikes for each card you've discarded. So you can hold on to it, and then when you got a big turn, you can just hit for a whole bunch of damage. It's super satisfying, and with his other cards, you're able to draw. So if you're really down on your deck, the throne artifacts go to the bottom of your deck after you use them. So you could potentially draw it back and throw it multiple times in the turn. So you're Captain America, and you're Thorin, and you're throwing the hammer, getting it back, throwing it back. Oh, it's so cool. So satisfying. You set up that awesome turn. And it happens multiple times because this is an uncommon card in this set. It's only full cost. It's pretty awesome. So I love Beta Ray Bill, and I just love how he interplays with other heroes like Angel, but awesome hero.
Once again, I love the artifacts. And I remember when they first introduced throwing that, I can't remember who it was with, and that was the problem. But I remember doing such a weird combo with it because I threw it and somehow I fetched it back right away or something. It's a fun twist on the artifact keyword.
Absolutely, yeah, and it makes so much sense for some stuff like Thor's hammer or whatever it may be. It's such a thematic, fun idea. Who's next? Ariana, number 2.
Yes, my number 2 is Invisible Woman. I think that her, again, 4-cost cards, so pairs well with my number 3 choice with Luke Cage, but also her ability to quickly KO cards from your deck just by spending 2 stars, which is amazing. As you guys mentioned earlier, the ability to KO cards and draw cards is just, it has to happen whenever you play the game. You have to have some ability to KO cards, and hers is just efficient. And it doesn't cost a lot. It's easy. So I really enjoy her cards. In addition, her ultimate card, the one that allows her to block one of the ambush effects, I believe. Yeah. And if you play in a multiplayer game, that means that you're able to block an ambush and then draw 2 cards. So multiplayer, that's like 8 cards if you're playing with multiple people, which is amazing. And you don't even have to discard this card. It's just, I have this in my hand, so I'm going to just draw 2 cards. And it's still a base of 5 strikes. So even if you don't have that ambush effect, it's still a really efficient way to also hit villains.
Yeah, I love the Fantastic Four set. I think all those guys are fun, and maybe will appear on my list. Oh, what a tease! All right, Will, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is from Secret Wars Volume 1, and that's Black Panther. This is when they first introduced the hybrid cards, and Black Panther just takes it in a style and does everything you could want. He's got almost every symbol on there. He does increased attack. He does drawing. He does KOing. His big card gives you sidekicks. He just does everything. He just tends to make your deck become really efficient and nasty and just like, well, guess what? Yeah, I played this card and it's going to trigger all my other cards, and because I have every symbol type, and I'm also KOing 2 things because I killed 2 things, and then I'm drawing 2 extra cards, and then, look at all these sidekicks too.
Is that 2 for you from Secret Wars?
The Venom was from Volume 2.
Okay, all right. But still a good crossover. Yeah, and there's a couple Black Panthers, right? This is Black Panther.
There's Black Panther and Storm.
Oh, right.
But at least that's all I can remember.
Yeah, you may be right. I feel like we're due for a new Black Panther set or something.
I'd love a Wakanda set.
Yeah,
that would probably be amazing.
Seems like a no-brainer. So my number 2 is going to be one that was previously mentioned. It's Star-Lord. Star-Lord, man.
That was the one I was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the reasons you said, Guardians is another one of my favorite sets. All the Cosmo Guardian people I kind of have enjoyed in the game. And yeah, artifacts are such a cool card type. They stay out in front of you. You get to use them as much as you want. And, you were saying, it's great because even if, everybody gets part of it, you still benefit from it. But what's even better than that is if you get all of them because you can end up with, if you just have a couple of like his generate 1 shard per turn cards, and then you manage to get his ultimate card, which lets you just get a shard for each artifact you control, you can generate tons of attack power or whatever you want if you have some of these heroes let you use shards for other purposes, like without doing anything. You don't have to work for it. Artifacts, they don't clog up your deck at all. It's just a no-brainer. And I do think while I like the throwing thing, I feel like Star-Lord kind of exemplifies like just the best case scenario for artifacts better than any other hero. I mean, it's his thing. He really goes all in on it. All right, now that brings us around to our number one, our favorite heroes. Again, a hard choice, and who knows, these lists, they could shift over time, I'm sure, but what are your guys' number one picks?
So my number one is from my favorite Marvel Legendary set. It's from World War Hulk. And this set introduces the transform cards. So all your cards can shift into other ones. And this character has like every one of his cards basically can transform. It's so fun. It's Rick Jones. Rick Jones, all of his cards allow you to do something cool. He's been exposed to this gamma radiation, so he can shift into multiple forms, and he's so fun. You can do so much. It's so awesome. So his base cost cards let you draw additional cards and sift through your shield officers, which is pretty sweet. But his other cards have all sorts of fun keywords. He's got this A-bomb that he can transform into that uses the smash keywords. You can dump something useless and get a bunch of strikes. He's also got his ultimate power is the Destiny Force. And you just basically get to draw a million cards for your deck. So you've got all these super awesome abilities. You're constantly transforming. And whenever you transform a card, it goes into your hand. So you can maybe play 2 cards at a time. But you can be Marvel, you can be A-bomb, you can be the Destiny Force. Anything is possible with Rick Jones.
Basically, you cheated and you picked multiple heroes for your number one.
He's actually was on my list. He almost made it. He's like the number 6 on mine.
Yeah, there
Jones.
there are definitely a few Hulks that almost made my list, but I do think the transform keyword is really cool. A really cool one. All right, so that's your number one, Rick Jones. What do we got next? Your number one, Ariana.
My number one is Bishop. Again, because of his incredible abilities, and he's got it all. He can KO your cards. He gets you stars for each card that you KO. Paired with Invisible Woman, he is just ridiculous because that just cycles through to where you can erase your deck in maybe 2 turns. So,
The Bishop's from Dark City, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, he's one of the earlier ones too, yeah.
Because my number one is also from Dark City.
Oh, all right. Let's give it to us.
And of all the heroes I've ever played with, this hero, I think, is the one that just has been the most powerful deck, such that I think even you, Jonathan, was angry when I had all her cards.
Oh yeah. I knew this was going to be on your list, yeah.
Yeah, my number one is Domino. With the versatile keyword and just the way she works, I was able to get like 20 attack and recruit at the same time. And I was just like, I don't know where to spend all this. I'm just going to take the entire field. Thanks. It is a point where, yes, I don't think we should play with her unless we think we're playing a powerful scheme or villain. But God, if you want that power fantasy, Domino brings it.
I will say, I don't know if it's, it maybe has been a while since we've really used her because they have ramped up the difficulty.
Yeah, and I don't know with other heroes, but I've never felt that sense like that.
Right.
What she did, and even if she isn't as strong anymore, versatile is still great. It's just okay. No, I need attack now, so I'll use that. So
yeah, I think that's a common theme amongst my picks is, and I think among a lot of ours was heroes that also can adapt or work well in different environments. And I mean, what that is the ultimate example of it is that keyword where literally you pick what you need.
I love that she has that card where you discard cards from your hand, and if they have a symbol, that's the one you get. But since all of her cards have both symbols, you just get max value. It's so awesome.
Yep. That's how you're like, all right, 20 each. I'll take that.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, that leaves me to conclude with my number one pick, and mine is another Fantastic Four hero, the only one on my list, but I went with Mr. Fantastic himself. As you know, it's in his name. He's fantastic. I really just have a ton of fun playing with him. He is all about the card draw thing. So he has one card it's so simple. It's 5 cost. It's just draw 2 cards. It's very simple. It's not gimmicky or that interesting, but it's, you know what? I just like it for that reason. Just like, I know what this is going to get me 2 cards. Let's see what we get. And then his other cards will give you more attack power for how many cards you have in hand. So it allows you to really build up these giant hands and hopefully unleash a bunch of attack. And he also makes use of one of my favorite keywords that I don't think we've talked about as too much yet, which is focus, as all the Fantastic Four, I think, do. which, like Versatile or like the Into the Cosmos characters allowing you to use shards for different things, this lets you use your recruit power for different things. So I love anything that gives you more options in that way. And I just have a lot of fun playing with Mr. Fantastic. And I think he actually works pretty well, even just working with himself. But of course, he's a lot better, as most of all the Fantastic Four heroes are, if you have them with each other to play off each other more. So those are all our top 5 picks. I think we should. I'd love to hear some thoughts about overall your lists now and what you think about them. I'll just say what I noticed about mine, and I actually did. I like that this is a top 5 list because you use 5 heroes in a game of Legendary, and you could now take you can make your own custom our favorite heroes game from our lists. I did a game with my 5 heroes to see like, what does this feel like with my favorites? And I think what I learned is that most of mine feel almost like complementary or more supportive types of heroes. And a lot of them are like, oh, give you tons of cards or lots of recruit to buy things. And I was like, not a lot. Most of mine, other than maybe the shards ones, don't really give a ton of attack power. So I guess what I found is that I feel like I am attracted to the things that really boost other heroes, and also that can be mixed in well with almost any group. You can throw one of them in and they'll find a place to work. What about you guys?
I think for mine, I like huge hits. So that's my list overall is something that will either get my deck to where that can happen or actually provide those high power hits.
I think for mine, and I just noticed it, I'll have to double check, but I don't think there was a single blue symbol. I think that is not my area of expertise, apparently.
Ranged. Yeah, you like to get up in their faces.
Mm-hmm.
On my list, gimmicks. My whole list is gimmicks, but they're fun gimmicks. I love it.
Yeah. No, I think that's the bad thing. I think that's great. In fact, I think it helps because usually the gimmicks means you can give them more powerful things. Because I'm going to be honest, Jonathan, I mentioned how I felt almost Domino was broken. I feel Mr. Fantastic is broken. That draw 2 card is disgustingly powerful. That's an ancestral recall.
That's
and
so
it just feels like if you see that on the field, you need to pick that up. Don't let anyone else get it because there's no one who wants that more. And it's just going to accelerate them really. Rarely is it going to hurt them.
You know, we had a conversation about this yesterday. Ariana was making her list and I actually don't think Mr. Fantastic is that good.
Oh, wow. All right.
He's kind of like a subpar version of Angel. So the Angel from Dark City. I feel like his card's a little too expensive and a little too slow. But it was really funny because Ariana put it really highly on her list. It was like her number 6 or 7. So we have very differing opinions on this. But once again, maybe I just like the gimmicks and I don't like the simplicity.
Part of it will come up, of course, with the games too, because like I said, I don't know if Domino, we haven't played with her in a while, but the times we did was just like she felt she was too powerful. She wrecked scene very early on. I don't know if that would be the case anymore. For another example was Apocalyptic Kitty. I remember I had a really bad time with. I tried to build around her and I wasn't doing anything that game. I don't think she might actually be bad. That was one game, but it did leave not that great of an impression.
Yeah, and also when there's so many variables, like which scheme are you using, which mastermind, someone could end up being great. Or if it just happens to not trigger with your thing, because there's so many cards in Legendary, like all 4 of us could play the same heroes like 20 times and have totally different takeaways from it, which is one of the things that's fun about it too.
Yeah, one thing I did note, I'm curious what all your guys' thoughts on, and I sort of did this with my list, is part of it was almost not just choosing a hero, but like I mentioned with Noir, I love the Noir set and that keyword. I needed Investigate to be represented on my list because I love that. I almost feel like when choosing these heroes, sometimes it's because of them. I'm not just choosing because I like Ant-Man, but because I like, as you said, like size changing or something.
Definitely.
I would agree with that. I tried to pick a couple that had a different, I don't know, skill with it.
Yeah, like a group. Yeah. Like this represents the Investigate group or the Transform group.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I definitely could have picked like 5 heroes with artifacts or something. I tried to spread it around a little bit. Noir is an expansion I really like, but I didn't pick any of them. But they were probably close. Any really strong runners up? We've mentioned a few that we each had, but any others you want to shout out that didn't quite make the top 5?
For me, I'd say that Korg was actually pretty high up on my list, but just because I just like him from Thor Ragnarok. His name is fun to me, but also because he's just a fun character and he has that transform ability as well. So he's always just fun to play with.
And for me, my honorable mention would be Angel. But I had Beta Ray Bill on the list, and he's very similar with his draw and discard mechanics. But Angel is super reliable, and I really like Angel in combination with some of Ariana's favorites with the Berserk crew. So like X-23 and Colossus and Wolverine. So if you use Berserk, you can mill cards from your deck, and they trigger Angel's abilities, which is kind of insane. So they're our usual go-to if we need to really get somebody finished quickly. If we're having trouble with the villain, we'll go to the X-23 Angel crew.
Well, obviously for me, Ripley, I think, beats everyone, but we're sticking with Marvel for these lists. So I did choose, even though I think it's probably one of my least favorite sets, a villain you can play as, because technically you can play as from the villain core set, and that's Magneto. Because conceptually, I like the idea of passing around wounds, and I think that adds a bit more to the competitive side. But overall, Jonathan and me have talked about this. We really felt the villain set didn't really hit the mark compared to most.
I know it has its fans, so there are some people who really like it a lot, but it didn't quite
look.
Work for us.
It's better than reprinting the core set with stills from the Marvel movies.
Yeah, it is better than that. Some other ones I thought about. Nightcrawler was another Dark City guy. I think the first time we saw teleport, again, a thematic, and it's a fun keyword. Also, a big mechanic that I really liked and maybe would be in my top 10 is the divided cards, which I don't think any of us picked any of those divided cards, but Cloak and Dagger probably would be my the one I would go with as just being the mascot for that thing. Because again, I really like anytime there's a card that gives you a choice that's depending on what you need, you can go with one or the other. So
for the divided cards, my favorite one is the Peter Parker, because you can have Peter Parker and then one of his divided cards is just Ant-Man. I think that's just hilarious. You need cheese.
Anytime you can get Aunt May on the field, I'm happy. I noticed that none of us picked any heroes from the core set. So that's kind of interesting.
I was this close to picking Thor over Lady Thor. But Lady Thor was just generally stronger, and Thor had one card that kind of threw him off. So Thor was almost on my list and not Lady Thor.
I think part of the problem is, and I think we've talked about this, it just feels like they, like you said with Thor and Lady Thor, they're like, all right, we're going to revisit the Thor archetype or the Captain America archetype and just buff it up a little bit here and there, or add some variety. And I think so if you're excited about Captain America, maybe you choose the Captain America from the anniversary set.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. Spider-Man's great. I love the 2 flipping. And I remember the first time we played, that's what I went with. So I would go through my entire deck. But now, we're not counting with sidekicks. That's just me. But there's all the other Spider-Man who are at least do a bit more interesting stuff with it. It's not just here's another 2.
Yeah, Spider-Man is another one. As a huge Spider-Man fan, I don't really love the way I just wish they had more variety in the Spider-Man characters in the game.
I don't mind it as much, but you do have to be careful, because otherwise you could flip your whole deck and still end up with 3 attack. Or you're broken because you either include sidekicks or you use every Spider-Man. So everything happens.
Yeah. It's more just that I know if there's ever another Spider-Man character, I feel like I already know how they play, because they're just locked into that style. I wish they could break away and just make some of them feel more unique.
And I think that's why you like Into the Cosmos so much, because it took that shard mechanic and added something completely different to it. And I think that's my favorite part of these new expansions is they can really revamp and revitalize and make you want to play an older set. So Lady Thor makes me want to use Thor and Lady Thor together. I mean, it just makes sense. So I think it's really cool.
Jonathan, I feel like Spider-Man's the one who hasn't grown as much compared to the rest. You mentioned you were many Hulks on the list. They still are doing what Hulk did and stuff, but it's not like I can predict what every card's going to be.
Right. Yeah, there's some variety, but yeah, I feel like a lot of them are pigeonholed a little bit. But there's a lot of expansions. We've talked a lot about a lot of them, and hopefully later this year we're gonna see the Eternals and Annihilation,
new Fantastic Four stuff.
Yes. So I'm very excited because Guardians and Fantastic Four are some of my favorites. So the fact that they made like kind of sequels to both those expansions is awesome. So super looking forward to that. Are there any heroes that you guys, or either a hero or a mechanic, maybe like we just said, Spider-Man kind of, that you would love to see added new or revisited that you think would maybe be a contender for your favorite? Tough question. I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
I would personally love to see more Transform cards. I love that mechanic, and if they revisited, that'd be super cool. And it doesn't have to be something crazy like, for example, Hulkbuster Iron Man. That's such a simple, straightforward mechanic. He's building the suit in a card. It's not necessarily transforming, but just upgrading. I think that's really neat. So I'd like to see more done with that.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for this question either, by the way.
Part of it is also we're like, what else can we add from Marvel?
They have everything. They have everything. A Wakanda set, I guess we said that would be cool.
There we go.
There's stuff that they could. I would like to see more Spider-Verse stuff, but again, with caveat if they do things with those characters. So those are our top 5 favorite heroes list. I'm really excited. I liked hearing your guys' takes because, like I said, I feel like there are so many that I know I haven't had the same experiences, and now I'm like, oh man, I think I'm like undervaluing all these heroes they mentioned. I got to go back and try those out more and take another look at them.
I'm just like, Jonathan, why aren't you playing these with me yet? Like half the heroes listed, I haven't had the chance to play with.
It's true. Yeah, but it puts the whole pandemic thing puts a damper on the Legendary playtime. But thank you guys for talking to us about Legendary. It's a lot of fun. Tell everybody at home, please, how they can find more of you out there on the web.
So we have lots of different venues that we're kind of showing things on. We have an Instagram account at SideGame CO for Colorado. We have our YouTube page, SideGame LLC, and then we've got our website where you can actually go ahead and reserve a game night so we can get you started and get you playing. So lots of exciting things, but thank you so much, Jonathan and Will, for having us. This is super awesome. Love sharing the list, and I loved hearing your thoughts. I can't wait to go try your 5 heroes.
I know.
Yes, that's the next challenge for everybody watching. You have to do each of our 5 setups.
It's perfect because, Jonathan, we usually spend like 30 minutes deciding who to play with. Now here you go. 4 next games, they're all set.
Yeah, like I said, I tried it with mine, and I don't think it works that well. So, but your mileage may vary. I think I like heroes that are peppered in more. We'll see. All right. So thanks everyone for watching. Let us know in the comments what your top 5 heroes are, and if they compare to our lists, if you completely disagree with all of our choices or not. And otherwise, until then, I'm Jonathan, and this has been Roll for Crit. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
We want you to like and subscribe, and if you have the chance, take a look at our Patreon.
Thank you for being a friend. Subscribe to our channel and back again. Okay.